Hello, my name's Vanessa Vallely and I'm CEO and founder of We Are the City. I am delighted to be holding this interview with Polly McMaster, who's the CEO and founder of one of my favourite brands, The Fold. So welcome, Polly.
Thank you so much. It's so wonderful to be chatting to you.
It is. We've known each other for many, many years, haven't we?
Indeed, indeed. It's been a journey and here we are, still going.
Absolutely. So obviously I know all about you, but for people visiting We Are the City that want to be inspired by this incredible entrepreneur, can you tell me a little bit about your background and what inspired you to start The Fold?
So I did not used to work in fashion and retail. I definitely have one of those kind of squiggly careers where I've definitely moved about from a few things. So as a whistle-stop tour, I actually studied science, which is a very, very different subject, and I did a PhD in virology. And then when I left university after all those many years of studying, I went into consulting. So then I was really, in a more typical kind of corporate role, kind of in the city, based in the West End, working in management consulting. And then from there, I went into private equity. And at the time, so bear in mind, this was probably, well, I suppose that was sort of 20 years ago-ish.
Yeah.
It was really striking to me how much of a man's world it was. And I know that even in this day and age, that is still very much the case in certain industries, in certain roles, and so on. And that was firstly striking to me because it wasn't necessarily what I expected, and there was a bit of an adjustment there, and you're sort of noticing that you're a bit different because in my case I was 4 women with a peer group of 24, so definitely in the minority, and certainly when you looked up the ranks, far fewer women. So that definitely struck me to start with and started a little bit of a seed of like, oh, that's interesting. I was always thinking that as a woman you could achieve anything. It sort of felt very optimistic about that, about any career really. So thinking about how how the women then network together and how we sort of stood out in a different way. And it also really struck me, and this might sound superficial, but we'll come back to it later, that I don't believe it is, that I was really surprised that my options for female workwear were so lacking. I
Yeah.
remember going to shop for my first suit to wear at my first job and being really surprised how few choices I had. And the quality was pretty terrible. And it was very much an afterthought. And like I said, I was sort of going into this job thinking, oh, here I am. I'm going to be climbing the career ladder. I'm going to be rocking it in the city. And then I was like, oh, well, that's odd. There's nowhere to shop as a working woman, and they don't seem to understand me. So I've got these two things that aren't really marrying up. If I can have this career, why aren't sort of the clothes or the environment there to match? So that was the light bulb moment. And I went to business school in sort of after a couple of years in private equity. And while I'd loved my jobs, I'd always had this little spark of thinking, oh, I wonder if there's something, else that I could do. I'd really enjoyed working with management teams. I wasn't sure whether finance was really the route for me. And I just kept thinking, come on, there's got to be a brand that could really connect with these incredible women that I know and
Yeah.
people like myself who want to build a career. And why isn't there a brand that understands that, like, if I've got to go and do a presentation or I need to be in a really important meeting and I'm surrounded by men in suits, that I need to dress the part? And I don't think that is superficial. I think it's about building my confidence and showing up in the right way. So that was the light bulb, I guess, at the beginning of The Fold.
And clothes matter, don't they? I mean, it's a running joke with me. Whenever I had to do a pitch to a client, like even if I was working from home, I'd put my heels on. I know it sounds ridiculous because it makes me feel more powerful. And there is nothing like wearing a dress that you feel $1,000,000 with. I do think it contributes to confidence. So I absolutely agree with that. So the initial vision for the Fold, I remember when you started, how has that evolved? So take me from the point where you decide you're going to kind of set up your own business. You came up with the name The Fold. I take it that's related to cloth or something like that, but you tell me. And then tell me about that journey to kind of where you are now.
So yeah, I love that you brought up the name. The name The Fold was definitely around the sort of more tactile elements. I'm wearing one of our blouses today and I've got these pleats in it. So you've got the tactile element of folding cloth into a garment, but you also have the concept of come into the fold. This is a community for sort of like-minded career women who want to dress the part and, you know, really want to feel empowered by their clothes. So I think that was another really important aspect for us. So, I mean, lots of sort of twists and turns along the journey. But I think what's really interesting when you look back at a bigger level is that actually what we would call our true north, so our real reason for being, which is to dress and empower women to achieve their ambitions. And we wanted to be a modern luxury workwear brand for women. That has stayed very true.
Yeah.
And I think that particular sort of ethos, reason for being, purpose, we've never really wavered from that. And I think that's really important because it helps your customers know who you are. And I think it actually helps you navigate a lot of things, a lot of difficult times that otherwise you could more easily lose your way. I think probably the biggest example of that for us was during COVID. So we were already quite a long way through our sort of journey as a brand, because I'd really started the business in 2012. And obviously by then it was 2020. So, you know, we're already talking 8 years into the business. You know, we'd grown to a sort of, you know, multi-million-pound business by then, lots of amazing customers, lots of international customers. We're dressing women to go out and do all these amazing things, whether it be their big event, a conference, going to work every day with their great, you know, navy suit, whatever it might be. And then COVID hits and it's like, what's the one end use that nobody needs is they're not going to work during the pandemic. And you're thinking, oh my God. And I mean, it was real crisis. It was, you know, absolutely, you know, the business was absolutely on a knife edge because your revenue overnight, you know, people couldn't have been less interested in their workwear for that time being. They weren't leaving the house. So we had to trade our absolute socks off. We had to think of any which way that we could to encourage our customers to keep shopping, to stay relevant. And you're reading articles all the time, you know, nobody will ever go back to the office. Workwear is dead. Nobody will ever wear heels again. Nobody will ever travel again. Our lives will be permanently online. And of course, that was very dramatic. And, you know, that isn't how it panned out. But at the time, you're thinking, wow, well, what does that mean for our true north of our business? But as we came out of COVID, and even quite quickly in 2021, strategically, we had a big decision to make there. Do we stick to our guns? We know who we are. We know why we exist. Or do we sort of go with the market and make everything casual and just assume that everybody will be in joggers for the rest of their lives? And it was in that moment that we were like, no, we know who we are. We know what our USP is. We have to stick to our guns because that's why our customer comes to us. And if we let go of that, we just become a fashion brand with no real reason for being, and we become like everyone else. So I would really say that, like, if you're in a situation where you know what your reason for being is, I think it's so important to stay true to that. You can't bury your head completely in the sand. And I think since COVID, we've been aware of how people dress slightly differently for work, how they need maybe a wardrobe that can be very hardworking and take them from different events and kind of their hybrid working environment all the way through to business travel. And so you have to be able to adapt, but I think you also need to know and sort of stick true to, you know, why you exist in the first place.
I think as a business owner, that makes you stronger. I mean, we had the same thing, right? We are predominantly an events business for women, and there was no events. It was easier for us to switch online, but you're right, people weren't in the headspace of progressing their careers or what they were wearing. You know, I thought I was destined to a life of leggings, and then, you know, and had the battle to shift that afterwards. But I think it's really telling how strong a brand is when you're like, as you say, you know your true north, and you're like, no, this is it. This is what we're sticking to. So, you know, kudos to you for doing that, because I agree with you. It was a very, very scary time. So we've talked about some of the challenges. So going back to when you started, I mean, lots of women talk about wanting to set up their own business. They might have a seedling of an idea. And I always encourage women to have a kind of side hustle. But that navigating funding for your business is an absolute minefield, isn't it? From whether it's kind of private equity, whether it's, you know, crowdfunding, whether it's bank loans or whatever you want to call it. What route did you take, and what advice would you give to women who are perhaps thinking of setting up their own business and need that funding?
So over the years, we've now done, I think, everything. So we've had the full menu of options. And I'm afraid to say it is hard. It remains hard. It's hard for every entrepreneur, doesn't matter, male or female. It's a difficult thing because effectively you're asking people to take a very high risk, because by nature, any startup, any entrepreneurial business is high risk. And you're asking people to part with their personal finances in order to back you. So if you put that into the kind of, you just have to acknowledge that. And the numbers game of it is that more people are going to say no than they are to say yes. I think there are some good things about that because it really tests your mettle. It's the opportunity and the chance where you are being grilled, and it will push you to the point where you are like, how committed am I to this? And I think that is useful because it's a long journey. It's a lifelong journey, really, to start a business and to run a business. So going through that sort of natural rigor of that process is probably helpful and probably healthy. I think the very, very earliest stages there are very, very hard because you're unproven. And when I did it, it was about finding angel investors who would take, really, it was about sort of taking a chance on me. And that's what it comes down to. When you meet those people at that early stage, they're really sort of almost interviewing you to see, you know, how committed are you to this? How good are you at solving problems? Because there will be an endless list of them. How creative thinking are you? How determined are you? All of those things are going to matter to them. I think a couple of things that I would really say are sort of pointers around whether it's finding angel investors or building your network around that, is that networking can sound like a very sort of big catch-all for something, but I think you really have to remember that it's kind of just relationship building.
Yeah.
Finding people who are interested in the type of thing that you might be doing, and where are they going to be, and why might they be interested in it, and starting those relationships, not necessarily on the basis of, are you going to be an investor in the business? And I think that's something that I've kind of been able to do over time, because obviously you build your network. But for example, some of the best investors that I've had, when I had those first conversations with them, it wasn't about investing. It was getting their advice about some aspect of the business or other. And then over time, you know, you'd built a bit of a relationship because you'd followed up with them. You'd asked them questions. You'd listened to what they'd said. You'd shown that you were someone to be sort of trusted and valued, and to build a good rapport in. And then when there was a moment where it was like, oh, you know, actually, I'm now at the point where I'm going to be doing a small fundraise. Would you consider, you know, being an investor, because you've been so valuable in these conversations? And of course you can say no, you know, and I'd love our relationship to continue anyway, sort of conversation. And they're so much more likely to say yes, because you've already done that groundwork and built that relationship, as opposed to it kind of going straight in, you know. I think sometimes then those conversations can lead into quicker conversations with someone else, because inevitably they'll know someone else they could introduce you to, but you've proven yourself, so they're more likely to introduce you. So it's that positive chain of kind of relationships that I think is so important at that early stage, but not to necessarily assume that it's going to go from zero to checkbook kind of, you know, in one conversation. I think also just to not get disheartened by the number of conversations that don't really go anywhere. There will just be so many of those, and it will get you down a bit, because it can feel like a waste of time, and it can feel that lots of people are saying no. And the reality is that they are going to, because if everybody said yes, nobody would find fundraising difficult, and it just isn't. That's just not real life, you know. So you have to just put the legwork in, and you know, it could be 100 meetings. I mean, that could be the ratio. And I think it's so important for people to know that, because if they go out and they have 5 difficult conversations, don't give up. But you will, like I was saying about the sort of the natural rigor of it, you will know in your heart of hearts whether you want to keep going. And if you want to keep going, then it will be the right thing to do. And if at some point there's been some conversation or something where you go, do you know what? I've thought about this differently now and I'm not sure, then that might be the right answer too. And that isn't failure, that's just due diligence, you know. That's correct then. So it's okay for it to go either way.
Absolutely. I think that's such brilliant advice, because not every conversation needs to lead to cash, right? Sometimes it is that advice and that experience. And you're quite right. When you get to know people on that level, you build a relationship. I think it's bigger than a network almost. And that person then almost has skin in your game. So it's a lot easier for them to recommend you on to other people, because they've got to know you, and they've got to know what you're doing and how passionate you are about it. So 100%. I think that's absolutely amazing advice. And I failed to mention angel investors. I mean, a great kind of place to start. And there's lots of we know that women tend to invest in other women as well. We've seen that. And then
If
obviously we
only
have the
there
bulk.
were more of them. That's a
Yeah,
real challenge. You need to find some women out there, and that is a real
yeah,
challenge. And I think there are now more groups than there were when I was first doing it.
definitely.
And we also did a crowdfund last year, and we made a big thing about, like, come on, we need more women. Come on, women, like, let's go.
Yeah.
And actually, we had a disproportionately high number of female investors than the average crowd rate. So we were really pleased with that. But yeah, if you can go out and find some women and get them excited about what you're doing, I mean, it's just so brilliant if you can have more female support. Yeah.
And there are angel investor networks out there that are specifically made of women. And we saw, the government last year unpick the legislation change around the amount of money that you have to have in order to invest in these companies. They backtracked on that and lowered it back down to 100K, because I think when they put it up to 175K that you had to have in assets before you could angel invest in a company, I think there was only something like 74,000 women at 15.6 million in the country that could then invest in businesses, which is bonkers, right? So we don't have that threshold anymore. So something to think about. And also that angel investing, it doesn't have to be mega money. You can start small with some of these small businesses, and then obviously build it up over time. So yeah, again, great advice on that. So we've talked about a pivotal moment in your journey, that was obviously kind of COVID. Are there any other challenges? So, for example, within that funding journey, or as you tried to grow the fold, is it ever kind of sparked out to you that you are a female entrepreneur in a very male landscape? And how have you navigated that? Have you used it to your strengths, or how have you kind of worked with that?
Do you know, I don't know whether it's luck or circumstance or through networking, or it might even be just the nature of what the fold is.
Yeah.
I haven't found major barriers in being a female entrepreneur, and that is quite unusual, I think, potentially, and also lucky. I suppose because of the nature of what I'm doing is that we're dealing with amazing senior women and women of all different industries and sectors and everything all the time. And so, I mean, it's extraordinary, really. I mean, it must be absolutely the same for you in what you do. I cannot believe how lucky I am, the women I meet. It's just insane.
Best job in the world, right?
It really is. I mean, the sisterhood, whatever you want to call it, oh my God, have they carried me through some amazing, through difficult times and amazing times. I mean, it's just incredible, really. So, in my everyday work, we're a very female-led team. We've got we've got more women on our board than men. Yes, that's true, because we've got 5, and so and we've got in every level of the business more women than men. So and actually across all of the things that we do, because we spend so much time with female networks and CEOs and directors and leaders in their industry, I just love that. I think I still do find it quite shocking, though, when occasionally I come across particularly junior women who have absolutely not had that experience. And, I remember meeting a really sparky, brilliant woman who we've subsequently done a partnership deal. She works at Manchester City Women's Football Club, and we've done a partnership deal with them, which we're really excited about. And when I met her, she said, "Oh, I've never met a female CEO before." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, like, how is that possible?" And then you realize it's because you're so lucky to be surrounded by all these incredible women that you meet, but that's not everybody's experience.
No.
So I think, women who might be, let's say, fundraising or looking at a business opportunity in a more male dominated sector, they're bound to just come across it a lot more than I do.
Yeah.
And I think, I think it's just, we just need to still do everything that we can to feel confident and empowered in what we're saying and what we're doing. Yeah. And, even if you come across, really disappointing behavior or things that don't feel equitable. I think we've just got to sort of stick together, stay focused on the goal. And it's that wonderful thing. I remember a woman recently said, it's just sometimes so wonderful to be underestimated.
Yeah, absolutely. Fuel to your fire.
Yeah.
So talk to me about, tell me who the Fold Woman is, and tell me what, I mean, I think your dresses and your pieces are absolutely stunning, but tell me what makes you different from kind of any other brands. So first of all, the question, who is the Fold Woman? Is she every woman? And tell me what's different.
I think it's really about back to the sort of heart of what we do, which is, overall, we're saying we want to empower women to achieve their ambitions. So I think at the core of it is a woman who's there with an ambition to be, the best that she wants to be in her career. And actually, that could be a very, very diverse set of women.
Yeah.
What I love, which is a little bit what we were just saying, is if you got that group of women together and you have that at its core, that you've got these women who've got an ambition in their heart, they will have so much in common. And you can feel the energy that comes from that and the sort of inspiration of it. So I think when you just boil it down, that's really as simple as it is. And it's that sense of, I think, empowerment, and it's a very feminine form of power. And I think that's something that's always been really important to us. It's just really celebrating the women that they are, but making them feel really good about themselves to do it. And sometimes, again, about it not being superficial, it's not just a dress that you put on. It's because you've chosen that to prepare for something that matters to you. And then when you've put that on and you go and do it, you've put yourself in the best possible position to make yourself feel great. And that's what matters in that moment. So it's just runs so much deeper, in a really nice
way. Almost feels like the meaning behind the dress or pants, top, whatever it may be, is part of the purpose of kind of what you're doing. That's part of that journey, isn't it? It's part of the story. That's what you're saying. Yeah. And I think the women that are watching this, obviously they're on our site, right? They're ambitious, so they're all naturally Fold women anyway. But I think that's it. You're not going to get that with a high street brand. I can't think of any other brand where that shines through, where that sense of community, that sense of sisterhood, is wrapped up in kind of what is effectively a purchase of a dress, right? So so that's special. But what makes the dresses different? So do you think not the meaning of them, like, is it the fabrics, is it the sustainability? What tell me a little bit about that.
So genuinely, look, we are an investment piece, and we're an investment piece for a reason. So at our price point, I really believe that you'd struggle to get the same quality of garment that you would get from the Fold. And the sort of the journey of that product is really still done in a very traditional, crafted way. And I think each stage of it helps that garment to stand out as unique. The way that we do that, we still operate really, we're a small business, right? And each piece matters to us. There is not some like massive production line somewhere where there's just people on a computer clicking buttons and picking this and that and fitting things on computers. We have a very, very crafted approach to every garment that we have. And it starts with amazingly creative concepting, all the way at the beginning of the season. But it also starts with an innate understanding of our customer. So you've got two things that are sort of colliding there. One is a creative vision from a design team, which is about color palette and fit and silhouette and fabrication and all sorts of lovely creative juices flowing. And on the other hand, you've got this woman, and the woman who needs to feel a particular way. She wants to feel feminine and strong and empowered, and it fits nicely and it's flattering and it's useful as well.
Yeah.
And when those two things come together, and it's a painstaking process. We do multiple fits on every garment. We have sort of tried and tested the silhouettes and the garment sort of proportions. Things are hand draped by our designer on the stand. prints that we do are hand painted by artisans, you know, who are crafting the design. We work with artists in collaboration. You know, we work with bespoke fabric mills in Italy, where it's like, you know, generations of expertise come into the fabric. Normally, to access that kind of product, you have to spend thousands of pounds.
Yeah.
And we know that because the mills that we source from, you know, where we get our tweed is also where Chanel buys their tweed. And where we make our garments is also where all of the designer brands make their garments. But because we're direct to consumer, we don't have wholesale built into our model. We've always been direct to our customer. We own our own stores. So we're able to offer, you know, a very different sort of pricing model. And I think our customers, once they've put that on, they can feel that. They come into the shop, they feel the fabrics, they try it on, and they're like, oh, yeah, okay, I get it. I get why that jacket, it's double the price, let's say, of a high street jacket. But I know that I'll wear that for 10 years and it will look gorgeous. And that's also the sustainability of it, because the life of the garment is the sustainability of the garment.
Yeah.
And it's not just the life that one woman has of it. We, for example, we donate a lot of our product to SmartWorks, and so do our customers.
Love SmartWorks.
Yeah. And we've been a brand partner to them for about 8 or 9 years. And when we go in there and we talk to the dressers, they say whenever there's fold product in there, they always reach for it, because it doesn't matter if somebody's already had it before and this is the second life, because the quality is so good. Yeah. You know, it can have multiple owners, and think how lovely that is. Like, somebody's built their career, somebody else is taking it on for a new interview. Lovely. It's like it's got its own, you know, its own reason for being, which is really nice. And you know, you just can't replicate that kind of craftsmanship in a cheaper way. And sometimes what people will say, well, you know the product is expensive, but if you want to have that quality and have it last, you'd be better off buying one piece and have it over a long period of time than buying 5 pieces from a cheaper brand. And I always say to people as well, you know, in this day and age, you can access the product in a different way if it's above your price point. You can shop in the sale, you can follow us to go onto a sample sale where we have amazing prices in our sample sales. And you can also buy things on all of the, you know, the pre-loved sites. And I think, you know, we're really proud of that. That's something we want to encourage people to do, because then if they love it, you know, they're going to go and build their careers. And then I want them to become, you know, a fold woman and a customer in the future. So, you know.
Absolutely. And I do agree with you. I mean, back in my corporate day, all of my suits were made. I'm a bit of a funny shape, so it had to be that way. But I've still got them now. You're like, you know, I'm talking 20 years on. So I think you have to get to a certain salary bracket before you realise that actually, you know, if I buy that blazer, or if I buy that jacket, it's so well made, it's something I'm going to dry clean to death, you know, or, you know, some items obviously you can put in the wash, but you know that you're going to have that for a lifetime, and you know that when you put that on, you feel magical in it. So I absolutely believe that you should have certain pieces as part of your capsule wardrobe, you know, rather than buying things that throwaway fashion that we're just going to, you know, you buy 2 or 3 things a month or every other month or whatever it may be, and you know they've got a lifespan of 3 to 6 months in your wardrobe, you know. So I couldn't agree more. And I love the ethos underneath the fact that, you know, you're saying go buy our stuff on pre-loved sites, and I love what you do with SmartWorks. They're one of our favorite charities, and we actually they're our charity of the year for our awards this year. But yeah, no, we love them. We've worked with them from inception, so that's amazing as well. Yeah. So you've just, I'm going to finish off the interview. So you've just opened a new store, haven't you, in our beloved city? Tell me all about that.
We have always wanted to be in the absolute heartland of the city, because we're saying, you know, we want to support women and help empower them in their careers. And yet you've got the city, and then where can they go and get anything for them? You know, there's a lot of men's tailoring out there and other stores, but not to dress a woman. And actually, you know, we all know that you might be having a very busy time, but you really do need something. And we wanted, you know, to be there with her in the city. So it took us a while to get there. And we've obviously got our wonderful store in Chelsea in West London, which is absolutely fantastic. And we host a lot of events there. But being able to open the store, it's right there, right next to the Bank of England at the Royal Exchange. So please come and visit. We absolutely love it. The team there are so dedicated and they know the collection so well. And I think one of the things, again, a little bit like how we approach the craftsmanship that goes into our product, you know, good old-fashioned service in our stores where you go in and, you know, a lot of people, when we have regular customers, you know, they know their names, they know our names, we know their names.
Yeah.
Come in, you know, we're going to look after you, we're going to pay you attention and make you feel wonderful. And that's what it should all be about, you know, not just like bustling through kind of like horrid sort of, you know, scrambling around, you know, the shop. Come in and just have a really nice experience and be treated, you know, be treated like a queen that you are. Have a wonderful time and walk out with something you feel amazing in. And we do alterations there. We do little events there. We can host you for some little after work drinks and shopping if you want. So yeah, I'm so delighted. It felt like a really big milestone for us. It was a really happy day for the whole team. They worked hard to do it. So it was really delightful.
And I think everyone who's followed your journey, Polly, were just as excited to see the Fold in the Royal Exchange, opposite the Bank of England, right in the heart of the city. You absolutely 100% deserve that. So, but for people that are watching that are not necessarily in London, they can also go online, can't they?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the vast majority of what we do is online. And we have also a great customer care team, you know, who are on the end of the phone. So if anybody's got questions and they don't live in London, they're not nearby, they're the other side of the world, they can get in touch with us. And, you know, hopefully we're always open to feedback if people have got, you know, things that they're struggling with or they want to know. But yeah, we're absolutely then a 24-hour online shop front. So
and we can find them where? Name of the website?
thefoldlondon.com. And we also, you know, obviously have lots of wonderful social sort of interactions on our Instagram, The Fold London, and also on LinkedIn. So, you know, and I'm also on LinkedIn. So, yeah, it's all part of that community, isn't it? And it's lovely to get to know our customers and you know, please do come and find us. Yeah.
Well, Polly, it's been a pleasure talking with you. You are a role model in terms of female entrepreneurs. Love the product, love what you've done, and love to see you grow as well. So thank you so much for spending time with us. And as Polly said, you know, please do, if you're in London and you're going through the city, do pop in and see some of the wonderful clothes and dresses and the wonderful team that's there. Or if you're in Chelsea, or if not, you can go online. But Polly, thanks again for spending time with us today. It's been absolutely incredible to talk with you.
Oh, Vanessa, thank you so much. It's so nice to speak to you today. Thank you for having me.